Reason on that. Hey, you know what? Don't be afraid to start young. It's never too young. I'm talking like, something, like 22 months.
You may not understand the stories, but they'll understand the pain.
The pain and the anger that make a man a man. When they get that. So when they can stand up, knock them down a little bit. Make them angry. And then make sure they have that look in their eyes. They know how to feel.
When they've gotten to the age where they can at any moment's notice go into a full beast mode, blind rage to fix their problems in life, we know you've succeeded.
They can do that. They got that ace in the hole. Oh God, shit's falling wrong. They got that ace in the hole. You put that there. You did that.
Way to go, Dad.
Way to go, Dad.
Too funny.
Chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
Turning that frown upside down.
If you know that your son is suffering from some sort of temporary defeat, like let's say he gets hit by a baseball at a minor league baseball game and he can't finish. And he's like, he's crying and you gotta drag him off the field and it's embarrassing and he'll never forget it. And you're trying to drive him home and he's still crying and the other son's in the back seat, they're all trying to cheer him up.
How do you cheer him up?
Ice
cream? No. Baseball cards?
No.
No. I don't think so.
You pull up to a red light. And on the left side of you there's two 18-year-old girls. Smoking cigarettes. Wearing tank tops. And you look over at the other one, you look at your son and say, you want me to do something to make you really happy? For some reason at that age, even though you don't know what's going to happen, you have this feeling like something's going to happen. Okay. So he rolls down the window and he looks over at the two girls and he says, hey, honey. And I look over and say, my son here. And I peek my head over. And he says, he wants to see your tits? My face hurting from the grin that Now let's talk about something that's still a little bit more funny.
Oh my God.
Unique in a way. Let's say in a normal circumstance, your child falls on the ground and scrapes his knee or hits his head. And he's crying, and he's confused, and he doesn't know what to do because he can't really understand what's going on. It hurts.
How do you stop the crying?
How do you stop that crying? How do you make that child happy?
How do you turn that frown upside down?
What you do is that you locate the spot where he hit the ground. You run up to the spot, and you say, Nick, what'd you do? Is the floor okay? He looks okay. Keep on rubbing the floor and consoling him until your son realizes he can't feel the pain anymore. He's just laughing.
And then jump in there and console
The first day of middle school. You lived in your grandparents' house, you moved from one town to the other. It's a big deal. You're in 7th grade. You get to the first day of school. Your father drives you there. It's just you and him. Man to boy. When you arrive, there's 500 some odd new faces in front of you. There's buses circling around. And what does a father do to really just build some sense of humility in his son? This is terrible. He puts his hand out like a man and he says, "Son, have a really good first day at school." And I shake it and I say, "Okay," and I have this tingle up my spine like something really bad is about to happen. And I get out of the car and I put my backpack on. And I start walking away. And he drives away. And I get into the thick of the crowd. And I just hear this screeching noise, like someone takes a turn real quick. And you just hear this blaring on a horn, just like, and then he says, "Bye-bye, Poopsie Whoopsie."
Oh boy, here we go.
Start happening.
Other things.
Lots of things.
Chapter 4. Adolescence and teenage years.
Oh boy.
Subcategory 1. The birds and the bees. Okay. There is always an appropriate way to introduce your son to that kind of subject. And you know you've been waiting 12 long years to share with him his first Playboy experience. No, don't wait. Morning of, before the bus stop. Hey, Max, come here. I'm really excited. I gotta show you something. 50th anniversary edition. So you enjoy that. So let's have a look. I gotta crack it over right now. Jerry Springer, Too Hot for Television. This is a perfectly appropriate way to satisfy both mother's rules and son's needs. Got it. Thanks, Dad. Hey, no looking. Yeah, we got it, Marianne. Yeah, we got it.
And with us, many more embarrassing things are coming.
What's coming next? Ruined girlfriends. Yeah.
Oh, sure. We got plenty of good ones for you, but we don't want to take up all your time. So
You know, we got it.
let's just tie this in. Are you tired of this? We want to talk to you about how to groom women into the Staaba family. First, intercept all phone calls that come into the landline. It may be a chick. It may be your son's girlfriend.
It may be a future Mrs. Staaba.
Since your youngest son hit puberty and his voice is deep just like yours, you can play it off like you're him.
Oh my God.
When she picks up and you talk to her and you're like, "Yeah, how was school that day?" And when she gets uncomfortable and finally realizes it's not your son,
Oh dear
she
God.
says, "Who is this?" take it in, and then you say, "You can call me Marvelous Mike."
Oh my God. It's crossing the line.
And when girls start to come over the house, and you're hanging out in your room, or the kids are hanging out in their room, and you're wondering, like, oh, I wonder what's going on there.
Yeah, it's getting a little too quiet, I think. A little too quiet?
No. Don't hesitate to go and bang on that door as hard as you can.
Just liven things up a little. Hey! What's going on in there? And then just walk away.
Not that you really care, you're just looking to laugh sometimes. All right, we're gonna move along a little bit, and we're gonna bring it up to how to. Yeah, we're gonna get to the real saucy stuff. How to react to illegal drug usage. The answer is simple. Do nothing. Everything sorts itself out.
It's gonna happen anyway, folks. Might as well happen under responsible parent supervision. Who's gonna give me a beer?
Encourage it when they're young, before they can be convicted. The last anecdote for me. When your son breaks curfew, or he's grounded, and he can't leave the house, and you walk into his room and he's not there. And the window is open, and you know the shade is gone, and clearly he walked out and left the house. You find him. You travel to the ends of the earth to find him, and you bring him back. If he's drunk, you slap him down, you yell at him a little bit, and then you just be cool. At 4 o'clock in the morning, when he's tight and sleeping and snoring, you go up into the attic and you grab a lobster pot. You grab a lobster pot and you fill it up with ice. And then you fill that ice up with water. And you stir it. And you just keep on stirring it and stirring it. And when the clock hits 5 o'clock in the morning, you walk in, you heave it up on your shoulder, and you have it up here, and you walk up to your son sneezing, and you say, "You want to break curfew? You want to do bad things?" And you pour it on him. When your son gets up and swallows half of it and pukes on the bed, you just throw the pot on top of him and say, "Now clean this shit up."
I love the Staaba parenting. I love that.
Okay, I'm going to share with you what was the single most meaningful father-son bonding experience in our entire lives. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay, so I'm probably about 16 years old, and I'm doing high school homework on the only computer in the house, Dad's computer. And Dad comes home from probably work or something, right?
But he's not.
It's my job.
Sorry about that.
He said, "Hey, what are you doing on my computer?" And I was like, "Dad, go home. Get off my computer right now. You have ruined too many of my computers. I should have never showed you that Playboy when you were 13 years old." And so I'm like, oh God. And then I do the one thing you should never, under any circumstances, just ever do to Mike Staaba. I rolled my eyes. That is no, that doesn't happen. So I didn't even, he just bum rushed me. Like, it just came out of nowhere.